Hi, I'm Robin Shooter and I'm the founder of Empower Total Health. And today I'd like to talk to you about one of my favourite subjects, the human gut microbiome. The emerging field of microbiome research offers fascinating, at times disturbing, but ultimately empowering insights into the connection between our gut microbiome, our food choices, which, as it turns out, may not be entirely our choices after all, and our moods. So what is the gut microbiome? Well, the gut microbiome comprises the trillions of bacteria, along with smaller numbers of yeast, parasites and viruses, which inhabit our gastrointestinal tract or gut. Bacteria outnumber human cells by around 10 to 1. A healthy gut microbiome comprises roughly 100 trillion bacteria of up to 1,000 different species. And in fact, less than 1% of the total DNA found in the human body is actually human. Most of the remainder is bacterial DNA. Now, different bacterial species have different food preferences. Friendly bacteria, or probiotics, thrive on the fibre that's left over after we extract the digestible carbohydrate from fruits, vegetables, whole grains and legumes. These bacteria repay us for feeding them by releasing neurochemicals that are an exact match for the neurotransmitters that our own nerve cells produce. Certain beneficial bacteria not only produce serotonin, the so-called happy hormone, which improves mood, but also influence cells in our gut to produce more of their own serotonin. And besides improving mood, that also regulates muscle contraction within the gut, ensuring trouble-free digestion and efficient removal of wastes through regular, easy bowel movements. On the other hand, unfriendly or pathogenic bacteria thrive on the bile that's produced when we eat high-fat foods like chocolate, processed meats, oils and cheese, and refined sugar and other refined carbohydrates, and also undigested protein that results from an overly high protein diet. These bacteria produce chemicals called metabolites, which not only raise our risk of bowel cancer, but also negatively affect our moods and drive cravings for unhealthy foods. Because bacteria can reproduce so quickly in the right conditions, gut bacteria respond incredibly rapidly to what we eat. Just a couple of days on a high-fat diet causes an explosion in the numbers of pathogenic bacteria. And conversely, good bacteria begin to dominate the gut microbiome, and bad bacteria numbers drop significantly within just days of adopting a very high-fibre plant-based diet. The gut has its own nervous system, which is called the enteric nervous system, or ENS, sometimes popularly known as the gut brain. And that's connected to our main brain, the central nervous system, or the CNS, via nerve signals that travel up and down the vagus nerve. You might think of the vagus nerve as the Ethernet cable connecting the two brains. In addition, the two brains communicate with each other using hormones, which you might think of as a wireless connection. So through both the Ethernet and wireless connections, our gut bacteria are able to read our emotional state and selectively amplify and prolong certain feelings in order to influence our behaviours in ways that benefit them. For example, when people feel down or anxious, they tend to crave sugary and fatty foods, which selectively feed the pathogenic bacteria, the bad bugs, and starve the fibre-loving probiotic bacteria, the good bugs. Sensing advantage, the bad bugs produce chemicals that keep us feeling sad or stressed for longer, so that we'll eat more of the food that they thrive on, allowing their numbers to expand so that they can dominate the gut microbiome. The tendency to crave certain foods when feeling particular emotions, both positive and negative, is also affected by gut bacteria, which generate gut feelings that are stored in the brain, affecting future decision making, including decisions about what to eat. So the child who was rewarded for good behaviour with sweets grows into an adult who craves sweets whenever they want to celebrate their successes. And the emotionally neglected child who consoled herself by raiding the biscuit jar grows into an adult who stuffs down her unpleasant emotions with sweet and fatty foods. These behaviours feel automatic, beyond our conscious control, because they were programmed in very early life by our gut brain. One of the biggest barriers facing people with a tendency to emotional eating is that they don't understand that their food choices are not entirely their own. They feel intense guilt about their cravings for unhealthy foods, which unfortunately often entraps them in a vicious circle of feeling guilty and then trying to excessively restrict their food intake, which leads to unbearable hunger, which then leads to binging, which then leads to guilt, which starts the whole cycle over again. I find that once my clients understand that what they eat selectively feeds either their friendly or pathogenic bacteria, which in turn profoundly affects their moods, they're able to make far better food choices. One of my clients, when she was proudly recounting to me how she was able to head off a craving for chocolate after our discussion about the gut microbiome, she put it this way. She said, I realized that it wasn't me who was craving that chocolate. It was my bad bugs. And I'll be damned if I'm going to feed those nasty little critters. And so she was able to say no to the chocolate because it wasn't really for her, it was for the bugs. Aside from educating my clients on the connection between what they eat, their gut microbiome, and their emotional state, I use emotional freedom techniques known as EFT, or these days more often as tapping, and matrix reimprinting. These are energy therapies that allow us to reprogram our brain's automatic, unconscious reactions, including the reactions that we have to food. Australian researcher Peter Stapleton has published research demonstrating the effectiveness of EFT for overcoming food cravings and helping people feel less anxious and more in control of their food choices. Dr. Stapleton showed that EFT is more effective than cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, which is the gold standard of psychological treatment, when it comes to reducing food cravings and anxiety. EFT can be learned in just minutes and used easily by everyone from little children to senior citizens. I teach my clients EFT so that they can head off their food cravings using it, but also use it on a more persistent basis to break the connections between certain mood states and certain foods. If you have an interest in the gut microbiome and the profound influence that it has on human health, I'm going to be doing an in-depth webinar, what I call a deep dive webinar, as part of my EmpowerEd membership program on the human gut microbiome, and that will be at the end of April. So see the link below this video to find out how you can join the EmpowerEd membership program. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please, if you did, like it, share it, hand it around to your friends, and I look forward to seeing you for our next weekly update.